On February 28th, 2009, a group of 4 friends decided to go out on a fishing trip after a long season. 2 of these 4 players actually played in the NFL, while the other 2 were standouts at a collegiate level. Unfortunately, things would take a turn for the worst later that same day. One of the people that were involved in this tragic day was Marquis Cooper, a role player for a variety of teams drafted by the Bucks in 2004. He's probably the best known person that was involved. However, all 4 of these people are now recognized in a horrific accident. I will get more into detail as the video progresses, but due to an unfortunate accident, a capsized boat resulted in 3 out of these 4 people never to return again. And I know it's very tragic for everyone involved. Today's video will focus a bit more on Marquis Cooper than the other 3, albeit it is more of a video for the entire group. What exactly happened that day? What went wrong? How did this happen? How is the lone survivor doing today? I will say this, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of my more darker videos that I've made. This is a football player, yes, but it's not entirely a football story. I remember when the news came out about this, it was 2009. I think I was just becoming a freshman in high school. They're going out to just relax and to never come back again. It made me really reflect, like, damn, things could be over in an instant. So sit back, relax, and as I tell you guys the story of what went down on February 28th, 2009. But first, a little bit of backstory for Marquis Cooper. Marquis Cooper was born on March 11th, 1982 in Mesa, Arizona. He attended Highland High School and became an all-state player for Arizona as a whole. He went on to go to the University of Washington for college, where he'd meet his future wife and the couple would have a daughter together. Cooper graduated with a degree in sociology and was named to the Pac-10 All-Conference team. His talent on the gridiron prompted the Bucks to draft him in the 3rd round in 2004. This is actually where he met Corey Smith. Around the time that they became friends, they would actually go to the gym together, and that's where they met Nick Schyuler. According to Nick's father, he was the NFL players instructor at the gym. Nick Schyuler and the 4th person in this group, Will Bleakley, were actually childhood friends, but became even closer when they went to college together in South Florida. Over time, the NFL players actually grew to become very good friends with Nick Schyuler, and eventually Will, because he was his best friend. All 4 of them eventually got along very well. After 2 years with the Buccaneers, they did unfortunately release Cooper. In 2006, he would have stints with the Vikings, Steelers, and Seahawks, not really sticking around to any team too long. In 2008, he was picked up by the Raiders, having played 8 games in the season, the most he's played in a season since his 2005 season with the Bucks. And I do just want to say, although he didn't have the hugest stats, it's still impressive that he was able to pick up teams as often as he did. Yes, I know maybe it's not as luxurious as, you know, the stars of the NFL, but the fact that a bunch of these teams are giving you a chance, there is talent there. It only takes one breakout year. It only takes a few breakout games to really showcase what you can do. I do feel like these teams did see enough potential to give him a chance. I do want to commend the fact that there was enough talent there that he was given opportunity after opportunity. After the season was over, Cooper, Corey Smith, who actually had a stint with the Lions this year, as well as Bleakley and Schyuler, decided to go out on a fishing trip, and they set a date. They were going to go out on February 28th. They got their things ready. They let their families know that they would be back later that evening. The families knew that they were supposed to be back in the evening, but they never did, nor did they get any calls. Because of this, a search began around midnight the next day, March 1st, as they were officially missing. The search lasted for 2 days, and the Coast Guard finds the boat and the lone man, Nick Schyuler. The Coast Guard unfortunately calls off searches, as well as families who were doing their own private investigation calling off their own as well. Because of the fact that the other 3 were still missing, Cooper, Smith, and Bleakley were presumed dead. During the next part of my video, the information that I get is strictly coming from interviews from the lone survivor, Nick Schyuler, as well as his book, Without Hope. So let's go ahead and start with the beginning. What went wrong on the boat? According to Nick, everything was fine getting out to sea. They made it about 45 miles into the waters, having a good time, but when it was time to head back around the afternoon, that's when trouble happened. Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the people who conducted an investigation onto what happened, concluded that, quote, the anchor line was tied to the engine as part of a mistaken plan to free the anchor. The vessel, which had a 200 horsepower motor, was then throttled forward. The rear of the vessel was pulled into the water because the vessel's motor had been throttled without enough slack in the anchor line. The capsizing ejected the operator and occupants into the rough Gulf waters. To summarize what this says, when the group anchored the boat to start their fishing adventure, they had not realized that it had actually been stuck. To get it unstuck, one of the ideas was to tie a knot onto the boat and have the boat dislodge the anchor itself. The unfortunate fatal decision resulted in the boat capsizing or flipping over, knocking all 4 members out of the boat and into the waters where it's cold, there's endless waves, and there was a lot to endure as a result. So the sad news is that they were stuck and they were in the middle of nowhere in the sea. As nightfall grew, the water only got colder and the winds and waves would not stop. And despite these guys really being superstar athletes, remember, 2 of these players are in the NFL. The other 2 made it to the collegiate level. So these guys are all in very good shape. And yet it was incredibly difficult to endure what they were enduring. In the early mornings of March 1st, remember they went out February 28th, the early mornings of March 1st, both Cooper and Smith became non-responsive, let go of the boats, and unfortunately they were lost at sea. According to Nick, Will made it another 24 hours. Tragically, in the mornings of March 2nd, Will Bleakley suffered the same fate of Cooper and Smith. He became non-responsive and was lost at sea. It wouldn't be until 6 hours later that Nick Schyuler, the lone survivor, would be found and rescued. His body was at a staggering 88 degrees internally. Our body temperature at a normal rate is 98. They say just going to 100 degrees the other way around, you should be going to the hospital. He was 10 degrees below your normal temperature. This guy was on the brink. They were saying that if he would have been out there another 5 to 10 hours, he would have suffered the same fate. He is airlifted to the hospital for his recovery to begin, surviving an unfathomable 46 hours at sea. Marquis Cooper and Corey Smith did hang on for about 20 hours themselves. Bleakley made it a staggering 40 hours. This was a fishing trip turned nightmare on 4 young men. Schyuler thanks Will for actually saving his life. According to Nick, Will went underwater and got everyone life vests from the capsized boat, and without that life jacket, it is almost certain that Nick would have suffered the same fate. Today, the lone survivor Nick Schyuler does have a family of his own. He does have 2 kids and did write the previously mentioned book about the incident and was rumored to even have a production about it soon. He still deals with survivor's guilt from time to time. Doing my research, I did realize that Cooper's wife and Cooper's father actually have cut ties with Nick altogether. But this information that I got was from a few years ago, so maybe things have patched up. Nick has said it previously in interviews, he does hope that he could reconcile with Marquis Cooper's family, but I couldn't find anything about it from more recent times. And say what you will about Marquis Cooper's actual statistical career, I still believe that it does take a lot to be signed by a lot of teams. At the end of the day, I do think that there was potential there, and there's always a chance that this could be your breakout moment. It's very unfortunate all the way around. My condolences continue to go out to the families affected, even the survivor, Nick Schyuler, and to Marquis Cooper, Corey Smith, and Will Bleakley. May you rest in peace.